Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I am Adebola Adeduba. The headlines. Nigeria Defense Forces kills 94 terrorists, arrests 43 oil thieves. Mali junta ends 2015 peace deal with separatist rebels. Zimbabwe's opposition leader, Nelson Chamisa, quit CCC 2 years after its formation. And details shortly. We begin the news in Nigeria, where its defense headquarters in Abuja says no fewer than 94 terrorists were killed by troops in various operations conducted across the northern part of the country between January 17 and 25. It said the operations led to the arrest of 171 terrorists in the north, as well as 43 suspected oil thieves, and the recovery of 484 million naira worth of crude oil in the south-south. The Director, Defense Media Operation, the Major General Edward Buba, disclosed these in Abuja on Thursday while briefing journalists on the activities of troops within the period under review. In the south-south operations, Buba said troops in the Niger Delta area discovered and destroyed 16 dugout pits, 51 boats, 49 storage tanks, and 3 vehicles. And still on security matters, 8 suspects have been arrested by men and officers of the Nigerian police force in Plateau State in connection with the Christmas Eve attacks in some areas of the state. And this was confirmed by the police populations officer during a press briefing to parade the suspect. News Central's Chizoba Onyenwe was there and now reports.
Apart from these 8 suspects, there were 9 others arrested by the security agents in connection with the recent attacks in Mangu local government area of Plateau State. It is still not clear what the cause of this most recent incident is, but many lives have been lost, just as houses, worship centers, hospitals, and other properties were burnt.
Misunderstandings come very often, so there's no specific issue that you say this is the one that's always causing it. What happened now? Something caused it. What has been happening before? Different things caused it. So each one that comes, we are prepared to handle it as it comes.
In furtherance of putting an end to the recurrent issues in these affected areas, more manpower has been deployed.
An attempt by some criminal assailants in Panyam district to set fire on some worship centers was prevented by the swift intervention from the police and with the help of some elders of the community and other security agencies. Also, in another development, to further strengthen the existing security architecture in Mangu LDA and ensure compliance with the curfew imposed by the government and prevent further escalation of the incident, which is almost snowballing into an ethno-religious crisis. I have ordered the deployment of additional special intervention personnel to Mangu LGA to be commanded by the area commander Bachi and restore normalcy in that area.
Exhibits recovered from these suspects include machetes, kegs of petrol, gas cooker, and other items. While security agencies continue to work towards a peaceful plateau, members of the public are advised to always cooperate with them by providing credible information. In Jos for News Central, I am Chizoba Onyenwe.
The Nigerian police force says it has rescued 2 kidnapped victims who were abducted in separate incidences within the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. Now, this was made known by the FCT Police Commissioner while parading some suspected kidnappers, saying several firearms and ammunition were recovered from the suspect. He adds that the rescue was made possible following information provided by the public to the police and urged citizens to continue to cooperate with security agencies to help stop the crime.
The police operatives from Ido Division and the anti-kidnapping unit of the command made a concerted effort to have the victim rescued and suspects arrested. The effort paid off on the 21st of January 2024, when the DPO received an information that something abnormal is happening in a particular house at Soka village. The DPO moved in and cordoned the house. Behold, the kidnapped victim was found with one Muhammad Abel armed with Mark IV rifle with 10 rounds of live ammunition. He was promptly arrested and the arm recovered from him. The victim was rescued but with gunshot injuries. I had also to call all my counterparts in the contiguous states to the Federal Capital Territory, more especially Kaduna. This contact paid off as police operatives in Kaduna intercepted the armed hoodlums at the filling station in Kau, Kaduna.
And now to judicial matters. Kingsmen of the governor of Delta State, South Nigeria, have urged opposition political parties to join hands with the governor to accelerate development in the state. And this is coming up as a group of supporters celebrated the victory of Governor Sheriff Oborowori at the Supreme Court as elected chief executive of the state. News Center's correspondent Austin Azu tells us more.
The victory of Sheriff Oborowori at the Supreme Court as duly elected governor of Delta State is yet to die down as more celebrations continue to spring up across the state. This time, a rally was held by a political support group in the state, Team Sakbere for Oborowori at Agalokwe, in Okwe, the governor's home local government area. They marched around the community expressing gratitude to God Almighty for the victory given their son through the several litigations he survived to be affirmed as governor. Director General of the group commended citizens of the state for their support, leading to the governor's victory. Represented by the chairman of the group, he stated that Governor Oborowori remains determined to provide even development across the state, assuring that the best is yet to come for the people.
Election and litigations are over, and it is now time for governance across board. Let us shun divisive tendencies and join hands with the ruling party in the state to provide Deltans with the much needed infrastructural and human capital development of our state. Already, Governor Oborowori has hit the ground running and did not allow the court cases to slow down delivering of his small agenda for Delta.
Others who spoke employed members of the opposition parties to join hands with the governor by bringing all their ideas and good intentions to ensure development and progress of the state.
Oh no, man, this is our own. Nobody will share it with us. On behalf of the community, I express our gratitude to Sakwe, to our neighbor governor who was able to crush 38 arrows. All the arrows that fighting against him were thrown off. So glory be to God.
We give all thanks to God for all He has done for Sheriff Oborowori. We the women of Okwe, we are so very happy, and we thank God and the people of Agaloko. You can see the overwhelm and the excitement of our people, youth, women, elders, celebrating with us here.
Thank God for what God has given unto Okwe, not only Sheriff, but generally Okwe. And we, Agaloko, we are here to celebrate the victory of Okwe. This victory is not only the victory of Sheriff, but the victory of Okwe. And our victory will continue.
The victory rally featured a motorcade and motorcycles with jubilant members who had enough to eat and marry. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
You're live with News Central TV. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. The Abia State Judicial Panel of Inquiry on the Recovery of Government Property and Funds has granted bail to ex-Governor Okeze Ikpeazu's Chief of Staff, Professor Anthony Agbara Zuere, in the sum of 500,000 naira and one shorty in like sum. Agbazwere was invited by the panel a few weeks ago to account for the government vehicles he used as Chief of Staff. News Centre's Chiwe Ogele reports.
The panel had issued a bench warrant on the former Chief of Staff to ex-Governor Okeze Ikpeazu, Professor Anthony Agbazwere, to give account of the official vehicles he used while in office when he failed to honor the invitation earlier. Agbazwere, in his submission and defense, said he had maintained a clean record in all his public service life, but only went home like other aides of the then governor with the said vehicles as an executive council decision.
My Lord, what you're doing is fact-finding. So what is bad about it? Nothing. So, and that's why I came. I was only afraid at the first time.
Chief Don Obani, the former deputy chief of staff to the former deputy governor, also informed the panel that the said vehicle was involved in an accident, after which he sold it off. The chairman of the panel, Justice Florence Duro-Haigwe, said Agbazwere is to produce a surety to swear an affidavit of means and must be a permanent secretary of grade level 17 in the civil service. The witness pleaded with the panel to reconsider the surety from him, as it would be difficult to get any to stand in for him. The panel thereafter gave him an option of a serving member in the State House of Assembly from his constituency. Since both of them laid claim to this Executive Council decision that bequeathed official vehicles to the governor's aides, the panel therefore requested for a proof of the ESCO decision.
I am of the view that there is need to further investigate if there was an ESCO decision bequeathing this vehicle on the witness. Apart from the if-said visit of the witness, there is nothing before us to hold on to. We need to scout for this evidence through other witnesses that are yet to appear before us.
A public affairs analyst, Mr. Ugochukwu Nwankwo, says it should not be a difficult task to produce minutes of the ESCO.
Those vehicles are purchased with government money. They are not governor's vehicles. He has a lot of vehicles. If he wants to give anyone such gifts, he can use his personal vehicles and give to them. I believe in previous times, those vehicles, the money is deducted from the salaries of these public servants. If there is also proof that such deductions were made, I think it will also go a long way.
The panel adjourned hearing on the matter till the 2nd of February 2024. In Omar Hefon News Central, Chiwe Ogele.
Stakeholders of the 19th state of northern Nigeria are set to discuss the present challenges facing the region and recommend ways of enhancing the fortunes of the region. And this will be happening at the Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Lecture, which Nigeria's Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, and other dignitaries of the region will be attending. News Centre's Umaru Kirawa completes this report.
Northern region, just like other parts of Nigeria, has been grappling with various challenges over the years, including insurgency, poverty, unemployment, and communal conflict. Gathered here are journalists from different media organizations and the Joint Organizing Committee for the 10th Annual Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Lecture. The event hopes to provide a space for stakeholders to share ideas, expertise, and experiences in order to find practical solutions that can be implemented to better the region.
The Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Lecture is an annual event that seeks to promote intellectual discourse and the reflection on critical issues affecting the northern region and Nigeria as a whole. It serves as a veritable platform to honor the legacy of leadership and good governance of Sir Ahmadu Bello.
The Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation was set up in 2009, and it is the brainchild of the Northern Governors Forum. Some of the activities of the foundation include under education scholarship that we award to indigent students across the northern states, and trainings in vocational skills acquisition and entrepreneurship.
Attendees include social activists, policy makers, religious leaders, business tycoons, and representatives from civil society organizations. The diverse group of stakeholders is said to reflect the commitment to inclusivity and the acknowledgement that addressing the region's challenges requires a collective effort.
This year, we have chosen Borno State as the host for the annual lecture, and this decision is particularly significant due to the theme of the lecture, that is, creating pathways for peace, tackling banditry and insurgency through good governance for sustainable development. Professor Tijani Mohamed Bande, GCON, Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, and the one-time president of the United Nations General Assembly will be the guest speaker.
Comprehensive approach to tackling regional integration, economic diversification, good governance, and security are among key issues that are expected to focus in the 10th Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Lecture. In Borno State for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in last year's election, Atiku Abubakar, has demanded explanation from the federal government over an emergency loan of $3.3 billion by the NNPC Limited. Atiku Abubakar, who is also a former vice president of the country, in a statement he personally signed, expressed worry that since the loan was secured last year, the Tinubu-led administration has handled the affair in secrecy. The deal is supposed to be a crude for cash loan arranged by the African Export-Import Bank, which was said will cushion the harsh foreign exchange environment. According to the statement, a special purpose vehicle called Project Gezel Fund Limited is driving the deal, and it was incorporated in the Bahamas. The SPV is the borrower, while the NNPC is the sponsor, with an agreement to pay with crude oil to the SPV in order to liquidate the loan at an interest rate that is a little over 12%. The Nigerian government says over 30% of food produce in the country every year is lost to poor post-harvest practices, while poor handling, lack of storage facilities, transportation, and equipment have been identified as some of the causes. News Central's Perpetua Fasame Peter speaks to experts on how to tackle this lingering challenge.
Estimated to be between 35 and 60% of agricultural produce across various crops. This translates to a staggering economic loss of 3.5 trillion naira annually, impacting food security, farmer livelihoods, and national GDP.
If you've gone to Mile 12, for example, in Lagos, you will understand what I'm saying categorically. You know, where items of commodities that are not sold in a day, it begins to lose the value, the market value. And sometimes it ends up being thrown away into trash, you know, or whatever it is. So, and this is money.
Although the federal government has intervened at various levels in the past, from the concession of 17 silos with over 6,000 metric tons to the establishment of green aggregation centers, more still needs to be done.
We need to reduce travel time. Raw food should not be coming from the north to the south. We need more processed food coming from the north to the south. And we need the south producing the food that is raw.
We need to expand and invest in the processing bit of the ecosystem. Once we can do that, it helps reduce the level of post-harvest loss we incur year on year. There's need for us to also look into the cold chain or cold storage system. This is another area I believe that we can begin to invest our money in. You know, investors can come in and see where the gaps are. We need to begin to look at alternative to road transportation of food. Government needs to begin to look at how best we can begin to channel our food through adequate railway system.
Addressing post-harvest losses requires a multi-pronged approach involving government, private sector, NGOs and research institutions. By investing in better infrastructure and post-harvest practices, along with enabling technologies, Nigeria can significantly reduce waste, improve food security, and boost agricultural productivity. In Lagos for News Central, I am Perpetua Fasame Peter.
And now let's head to Liberia, where the new president, Joseph Boakai, has been declared perfectly fine by his doctors. On Monday, the 79-year-old failed to finish his inauguration speech and had been helped away from the podium during his swearing-in ceremony. Boakai had been speaking for over 30 minutes when it became clear that he was having difficulty continuing. His office said he had suffered heat exhaustion but has now resumed his normal activities. Concerns about Boakai's health was a major issue during last year's election campaign. He narrowly defeated his predecessor by 59-year-old former football star George Weah in a runoff election in November. Earlier, we're joined by Samuel Patton, the National Program Manager, Federation of Liberian Youth.
I can testify because I was there in person, witnessing the inauguration. It was overwhelmed, it was packed, and it even overwhelmed the protocol. One could say that the heat was something that we all felt, and it wasn't too strange to us when it was reported that the president, upon taking office, suffered heat exhaustion while giving his speech. For us, we think from our own internal investigation and what we've observed, it is not a major concern. We look forward to watching him again this coming Monday when he addresses the nation for the very, very first time on the official, happenings of, on the state of the nation. So he'll be addressing the joint parliament on Monday, and so the entire country is, on their heels waiting to see what will happen, because normally this is an occasion that requires you to stand and address the legislature for about 2 to 3 hours. So we're hoping that his team and the government will put in place more measures to make sure that such doesn't reoccur. But we think for a 79-year-old man, it is something that we expected, but I don't think it is any call for concern for now. I think this is where the issue of politics and strategy were played. The United Party, upon witnessing the first round, the election result, gained some very good endorsements. They got an endorsement of almost the entire Muslim community, because the All Liberian Coalition Party that comprised predominantly of Liberian Muslims endorsed his presidency, as well as the president who came, I think, third in the presidential election to endorse him, as well as other political parties that joined to endorse him as well. So one of the endorsements that he got, coupled with the fact that he was experienced and the fact that Liberians needed change, were some of the things I feel contributed to his, elections result.
Cameroon's President Assoumani calls for unity after deadly protests. We'll bring you details of these and more when we get back. Stay with us. The news continues in West Africa, where Mali's military junta has announced an end to a 2015 peace deal with Tuareg rebels in the country's north, a move that could further destabilize the Sahel nation. The peace agreement was aimed at easing tensions at a time when Tuaregs mounted jihadist violence against the central government since 2012. But the agreement has only been partially implemented. Military authorities said the so-called Algiers Accord, brokered by the United Nations, had ended with immediate effect. In a statement read on state television, the junta spokesman, Colonel Abdoulaye Mega, said it ended the deal due to other signatories not keeping their commitment and hostilities by chief mediator, Algeria.
Le gouvernement de la transition constate l'inapplicabilité absolue de l'accord pour la paix et la réconciliation au Mali, issu du processus d'Alger, signé en 2015, et par conséquent annonce sa fin avec effet immédiat.
At least 70 people have been killed after a tunnel collapse at a Malian gold mining site, the latest disaster in the region prone to mining accident. According to reports, the incident happened last week and search operations for the bodies lasted several days. Work on the site has been suspended, but a nearby mine is still in operation. The miners work in often dangerous conditions, exposing them to the risk of collapses.
Jigina bo vero 16h wakati antora sogona na bo unana kana fa ne ko dama fe babina parce que yani barada folo ere an fi ani sanu ba bora romina bo yan soro sogona ko dama bina an bolla ka siano bo an serano bo shu do sera chama sera ka sorola bo an refene kla ka wuli tuguni kata se agege ga sokono komi yae san boro de san boro min do bo eta keleno ka fere projet do mo projet do ko AGG a fere no depuis ni ma fili depuis Musa ni Musa Clé Alpha Clé bila projet te ko abe san bisa bandon bo mais depuis projet fere la fo bi barata ka ke dugukolo in kan ko ni be ka mo empêcher barala bo tuma be danger be bo aworo la o ka fere ke ni projet na nya ko woro in ko ka ta do ka ba o ka garaji do ala mo aramade nu be se ka sauver to ka mina mo kana se ka baraka la no make o ka a bara la jɔ k'a fɔ AGG ɲɛnɛ u bɛ olu min bɛ ka yamaruya di mɔgɔ ma u kana walidenw kana baara kɛ yɔrɔ tiɲɛnima yɔrɔ la u ka a lajɔ o kɔni o y'an ka laɲini fɔlɔ-fɔlɔ ye.
We now move to East Africa, where Ethiopia has decided to increase the 20,000 cubic meters of drinking water production being supplied to Djibouti every day to 100,000 cubic meters. The Minister of Water and Energy, Dr. Habtamo Itaifa, said that works are being carried out for the implementation of this decision. He pointed out that there are resources that Ethiopia can share with its neighboring countries, which can help strengthen regional ties and also growth together. Senior economic researcher Dr. Abile Mehari, who commented on the issue, said the move was important but indicated that the agreement requires caution. Re-elected president of Comoros, Azali Assoumani, whose victory is in a disputed vote last week was followed by deadly protests, has called for all to work together to build unity. The Comoros Supreme Court on Wednesday confirmed the re-election of Assoumani. Rafiq Mohammed, the president of the court's constitutional and electoral session, said Assoumani had won with 57.2% of the vote, revising the victor's previous score downward slightly while greatly boosting a strangely low turnout figure.
Les actes de violence que notre pays a connus ces derniers jours nous imposent de devoir œuvrer ensemble, gouvernement, opposition, leaders religieux et notables, société civile, pour construire notre unité, notre vivre ensemble, lourdement entamé après l'annonce des résultats provisoires de ces dernières élections. Mes chers compatriotes, en m'adressant à vous aujourd'hui, en ma qualité de président élu, j'ai une pensée pour le jeune homme qui a perdu la vie dans des circonstances malheureuses et regrettables, et je présente mes condoléances attristées à sa famille.
And from the east, we move to Southern Africa, where the Citizens Coalition for Change president, Nelson Chamisa, has announced that he has quit the CCC barely 2 years after its formation. In a 13-page statement, the politician cited the conduct of the 2023 election, the delimitation report, electoral violence, and the post-election recalls of elected CCC candidates, among other reasons, as reasons for his leaving CCC. Earlier this month, a CCC National Deputy Spokesperson, Gifts Ostalos, sent social media into frenzy when he hinted that the Nelson Chamisa-led party is dumping the party name for a new one. It was reported that Chamisa has all but lost control of the party. A self-imposed interim Secretary General, Sengezo Shabango, has been wreaking havoc since October 2023. He recalled 15 MPs, 17 councillors and 9 senators, triggering the 7 December by-election. And joining me live on the news to talk about this is a political analyst, Makomborero Harozive. Good morning from here. Glad to have you join me.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to join you too.
All right, let me start by asking you, what are your thoughts regarding Nelson Chamisa, quitting the opposition party, CCC, which is Citizens Coalition for Change?
I think it's one of, strategic reactions to a military state capture. We know that ZANU-PF's modus operandi ever since the 2017 coup, which ushered in the presidency of Mr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, it has been to capture. They capture the courts, and once they capture the courts, it means they've easily captured everything. If you want to go to get your dispute resolved in court, as long as you are not a preferred individual to the powers that be. You are guaranteed to lose that case. We have seen it not only in political, party cases, but we have seen it in terms of human rights cases. Mr. Job Sikala is in prison over 580 days over flimsy charges. Many opposition members and citizens are being victimized by these same captured courts. So the central issue here, it's about state capture, it's about capture of the judiciary, it's about a military dictatorship that is immune to political reforms.
Okay, we understand that some of the reasons, Chamisa gave for quitting the CCC has been that the party has been contaminated and hijacked by the ruling government. What are your thoughts on this?
The ruling government, of course, they are doing everything they can to ensure that they sabotage democracy, they sabotage multi-party democracy, and ensure that there is practically a one-party state in Zimbabwe. Yes, I'm mentioning of one-party state because the other opposition they would really want is the opposition that which they control, and there are a plethora of them. So in this scenario, quoting from Mr. Chamisa's statement distancing himself from the Citizens Coalition for Change, is alluding to the fact that he feels that they are meddling fingers in terms of the ruling party to try and cause confusion. And this is, can be traced back to judicial state capture that I mentioned earlier on.
Well, Macomborero, some other persons believe that Nelson Chamisa's weak leadership led to the rifts in the CCC party. I mean, if you recall, he was with the Movement for Democratic Change, the MCD, which he left to form the CCC, which he has also quit. What do you make of that?
Of course, part of leadership, it's in receiving negative feedback. That's part of leadership. But my, response to that would be, if you check in the history of Zimbabwe, we've had popular leaders of the alternative, like Joshua Nkomo during the liberation struggle. He formed and abandoned many parties which had been captured, which had been compromised, which had been banned by the colonial Rhodesian regime. So in the case of Mr. Nelson Chamisa here, what he has done is a response, a reaction to what he feels are concerted efforts to sabotage his vision for a new great Zimbabwe. So it's a reaction, and I think it's more of a reflection of the, a compromised state of affairs in as far as capture is involved in Zimbabwe's politics, and less more of a reflection on his leadership, weak or not. Even if he is to be strong, there are many strong leaders in Zimbabwe, but they are failing. Even in the ruling party, we can take, for example, strongman Mr. Chiwenga himself. His allies, like Lieutenant Colonel Chifima, are rotting in prison because they are thought to be politically aligned to him. They're being victimized by Mr. Mnangagwa. So judicial capture is not a matter of the victims being, weak leaders, but it's about the government, the ruling party abusing state institutions to achieve cheap goals.
Now, how do you think this will impact the political powers of the ruling ZANU-PF party, of course, of Emerson Mnangagwa?
This will definitely continue to perpetuate the illegitimacy. We saw the held elections, the code elections in 2023, very sham elections, which were, criticized left, right, and center by all observer missions with their assault. So what is at stake here is more of the legitimacy of Mr. Mnangagwa's government, their capacity to really manufacture consent, because the tragedy in Zimbabwe right now is that those with the ideas to transform Zimbabwe, have the strategies to reform Zimbabwe's economics, Zimbabwe's politics, do not have power. And those who have power do not have the ideas. And the current government doesn't have ideas to really move Zimbabwe forward. So this doesn't remove, per se, the disgruntlement amongst the populace. This doesn't, per se, remove active opposition against the corruption that we see, active opposition against taxes, exorbitant taxes that are being imposed on a daily basis. This does not per se make the economic situation any better, this does not stop cholera that is ravaging the ghettos in Zimbabwe. This does not, solve the load shedding crisis. This does not create employment or industries. So what it means is, the struggle for the people of Zimbabwe continues. I think this might signal an escalation, if anything can be deduced from this.
And that's a fine place to leave it. Makomborero Hariziva, a political analyst, thank you so much for your time on the news.
Okay, thank you.
UN judges on Friday will rule on South Africa's request for the emergency measures against Israel, which is accused at the World Court of State-led genocide for its military operation in Gaza against Hamas. Now, Friday's ruling at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, will not deal with the core accusation of the case, whether genocide occurred, but will focus on the urgent intervention sought by South Africa. Among the measures South Africa requested is an immediate halt to Israel's military campaign. South Africa argued 2 weeks ago that Israel's aerial and ground offensive is aimed to bring about the destruction of the population of Gaza. Israel rejects the accusation, saying it respects international law and has a right to defend itself. And now let's connect with the business desk for today's business stories.
In business, the wide gap between deposit and lending rates in Nigeria's banking system is seen as detrimental to investment growth and discourages savings. Compared to the global average of 6.6%, Nigeria's spread is significantly higher, hindering economic development. Addressing these inefficiencies is crucial to creating a conducive environment for investment and savings. As the Monetary Policy Committee tackles rising inflation, analysts anticipate future interest rate adjustments to balance economic growth and borrowing costs. The monetary policy rate is expected to stabilize at 19% in the first half of 2024, with potential downward adjustments in the latter half depending on declining inflation rates. But urgent action is needed to narrow the spread and foster sustainable economic development in Nigeria. And moving on, Sasol, the world's largest producer of fuels and chemicals from coal and gas, has announced a decline in output at its coal mining division during the October to December quarter. The company attributes this decrease to safety-related incidents, tough geological conditions, and delays in sourcing maintenance spares. As a result, output was reduced by 5%, equivalent to 394,000 metric tons. This will have a negative impact on the mining unit's cost per ton for the entire year, according to Sasol's trading update. Despite these challenges, Sasol maintains its production forecast for the full year in its mining, gas, and chemical segments. However, the utilization rate forecast for its Qatar gas-to-liquid joint venture has been lowered to 65 to 75% due to a reactor coil leak, resulting in an accelerated shutdown and extended repair work. Sasol's half-year results are expected to be released on February 26. And finally, in East Africa, the Kenyan shilling experienced its fastest appreciation in 3 years against the US dollar, strengthening by 0.73% to trade at 160.19 compared to Monday's rate of 161.36. This unexpected shift comes after a period of significant depreciation last year, where the shilling lost over 26% of its value against the dollar. Recent data from the Central Bank of Kenya shows similar gains were last recorded on December 23, 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic. While these recent gains suggest a stabilization of the currency, experts warn that it may not signal a complete reversal of the previous trend. The use of forex reserves have contributed to the current stability. However, the shilling's depreciation is expected to continue due to high energy import demand and shrinking exports, impacting importers, hard currency borrowers, and individuals with dollar-denominated salaries. These are the stories we're tracking at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fason Repeater. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
And for sports stories, let's connect with a sport team.
And in sports,
The Ghana Football Association has formed a 5-man committee to find a new coach for the Black Stars after Chris Hughton was sacked earlier this week following Ghana's failure to reach the knockout stages of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations tournament. The committee, led by the GFA Vice President Mark Ado, includes football stakeholders from the Ministry of Youth and Sports and retired members of the Ghanaian football community. The committee members will report directly to Vice President Ado on matters relating to finding a suitable replacement for Hughton. The decision to form a committee comes after Ghana's disappointing performance at the competition in Côte d'Ivoire, where they failed to win any of their 3 Group B games. The team lost 2-1 to Cape Verde and drew 2-2 with both Egypt and Mozambique. The Ghana Football Association aims to name the new coach within the next 3 weeks. This timeline allows the new coach to prepare the team for the upcoming international football window in March. Ukraine's most celebrated footballer, Andrei Shevchenko, was elected president of the country's football association on Thursday, pledging to develop the sport amid the Russian invasion. Shevchenko, who won the Champions League with AC Milan in 2003 and is Ukraine's top goal scorer, has been a steadfast opponent of Russia's war, speaking out regularly against Moscow's actions and using his profile to help raise funds for victims and refugees. The 47-year-old told a press conference in Kiev he would strive to advance the game in the very difficult conditions of the full-scale war. The former Chelsea, AC Milan and Dynamo Kiev striker also pledged to stamp out corruption at the body following a graft scandal that saw his predecessor arrested on fraud charges. Football in Ukraine has not escaped the effects of the war. The season was halted when Russia invaded and the games have been shifted to the safer western part of the country. 3 Sevilla fans died in a traffic accident on Thursday while heading to watch their team's Copa del Rey quarter-final clash against Atletico Madrid. Sevilla said they have asked the Spanish Football Federation for a moment of silence before the game. The accident occurred around 270 kilometers south of Madrid, according to Spanish reports. Sevilla faced Atletico in the Spanish capital at the Metropolitano Stadium in the last quarter-final clash, bidding to join Real Sociedad, Athletic Bilbao, and Real Mallorca in the semi-finals. And that's a wrap on Sports Update. I am Udoka Njoko. The news continues shortly.
And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Nigeria Defense Forces kills 94 terrorists, arrests 43 oil thieves. Mali junta ends 2015 peace deal with separatist rebels. Zimbabwe's opposition leader, Nelson Chamisa, quits CCC 2 years after its formation. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adeduba.